It's only a week between podcasts this week.
Go us.
Go us. And it almost didn't happen. We are shooting this 3 days early because I'm leaving in a couple hours.
Yeah.
Again. So, but we didn't want to leave you hanging. We missed you guys. So we wanted to hang out again. So here we are.
And kudos to Dave. He's been so busy. This is like the first time you've taken your actual bike for an actual ride. I
am so excited.
Not to shoot content, not to you're going for a ride.
Someone left me kind of a snarky comment and I didn't really take it as snarky because they were 100% right. They're like, why do you even own that? You never ride it. That's a lot of money to have sitting in the corner.
Ooh,
and they were
fired,
right.
Dave.
They were right. But every time I get on it, I mean, this is kind of, I am so lucky to have my position. I'm not complaining, like what I get to do. But when there's a motorcycle that just gels with you, right? Like I love all these other bikes, but this one is mine, right? Like this one, the suspension's completely dialed for me and my weight. It has the tires I prefer. It has the settings I like. Everything's adjusted perfectly. It's a big stonking V4 that's a little louder than maybe it ought to be. And every time I get on it, I re-fall in love with my motorcycle. So, and I wish that for all of you to have a motorcycle that you just love.
You did a video on this, but maybe it's worth, because what have you had this thing for, like 2 years now is all?
This is sad. I've had it, I think, for 3 years. Maybe it is 2 years. No, I think it's 3 years now. It has 3,000 miles on it, which is, I've put more miles than that on some of the press bikes I've had.
I was going to say, I bet you have some Hondas with more than that.
I have. And I think my big regret is, it's not really a regret. Last year I try to do one ride just for me every year. And last year I was like, well, I'll take the NT 1100 on it. And the NT 1100 is a great bike, but it's not my bike.
Well, and it's not this bike.
And it's not that bike. It's not an idiotic motor. It's not like whatever that,
I think it would be interesting for people to hear like why you wound up with this particular bike. Because when you were shopping, you were sort of like purveying the terrain, the scenery, right? For a few years thinking, I got to replace my old Multistrada for a while.
I was getting long in the tooth. I had a ton of miles on it. I think a lot of you guys, if you've been watching the channel for a long time, you have as many miles on it as, because I did so much content with that bike. It was getting long in the tooth, and I love 17-inch wheels, but a new one of these, it's $30,000. I can't swing 30 grand. The sweet YouTube money isn't that sweet. Like I can't just go buy a $30,000.
It's sweet, but it's smaller than you think.
Yeah, it's not. That's like the big downside. I love the job. I wish the pay was better. That's the joke I make all the time. So I was purveying everything. I was looking at all the options out there. I know I like tall rounders. I preferred tube bars, and by the nature of where we live, the ability to go long distances is a requirement. Like we're amazing. Like where we live in this epicenter of amazingness, but everything's a day away. So you need a bike that can at least carry you for 2 or 3 days. So luggage is an absolute must. But I'm a sport bike guy at heart, so it needs to be able to get around a corner pretty well. And it needs to be comfortable when I got across some of the big, flat, wide open spaces because we have deserts around us. And driving across a desert is really romantic for about 8 minutes, and then you're done, And so then you just want to be comfortable. You want to get it over with, right?
Well, and depending on which direction you're going, there are some where you don't have a choice but to be on either an interstate or even just a boring road at some point.
You're going to have to slap.
Yeah, it's just the nature of it.
And these tall rounders are the only bikes that I've ever ridden where if I'm on a super twisty road, I'm happy. It's not the perfect bike for a super twisty road, but I'm happy. If I'm on a crappy, crumbly asphalt road, it's not the perfect bike for it, but I'm happy. Same thing with like a freeway or even like when you got to like slog across a bunch of like rural areas and stuff like that. It just is good at everything. And that's part of why I really love them. But yeah, I was looking at a GS 1300. I was looking at the big Versus. I was looking at all of them. And this thing literally fell in my lap. Some guy bought it, I think it was 108 miles on it.
It was not even to the break in oil.
Yeah. It had 108 miles on it, scared the out of himself.
Expletive out of him, yeah.
And traded it in on an Indian Challenger. And so the Indian dealer had it, and they're like, we don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, we can't move it.
And one of our good friends was working there at the time, and he goes, I think I know. I think I can get rid of this, but we're going to have to discount it. And he called me, and the price was so good. I just was like, oh, well, that's my new motorcycle. And it's a little flash for me. Like the big giant number one is.
This isn't you.
It's not. Yeah, it's a little loud for me. I usually like some things. I like beige. Like beige is my favorite color.
Your automobile lineup is
all
pretty
beiges. Yeah. So this is pretty flash, but I just adore the motorcycle. It's my 4th or 5th multi-strada that I've owned personally.
You've had all but one generation of multi, haven't you?
Yep. I skipped the
first V4.
No, the variable valve timing multi-stradas.
Oh, was that a twin?
Yeah, it was the twin.
Okay.
Yep.
So that was like the last twin?
Yeah, it was the last twin before we went to the V4s kind of showed up. Yeah. And then the V4s, we've talked a lot about how much I love V4s. Yeah. But yeah, that's how I ended up with it. I wouldn't have paid $30,000 for a motorcycle. I think it's ridiculous. And there's things on this thing that I'm like, $30,000 and you couldn't give me heated grips?
That's a bit. That's a bit silly.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on. So stuff like that. But yeah, so that's how I ended up with that thing. And I'm excited to go ride it. It's going to be, the bike has never left the valley.
How sad.
I know.
What a shame.
It's never left the valley. I've had it for 3 years.
Well, we all hope you have a good trip and hope it's not 104 degrees on your ride like it is today.
Yeah, I think we're going to have stints of hot, but we're going north to like...
An elevation.
And high in elevation to kind of flee.
Well, we'll now you'll get to test your Alpine Stars gear at the other end of the scale.
At the other end of the spectrum. Yep.
Yeah.
We'll be definitely doing
I bear it in the blasting heat?
In the insane heat. Yep. That's exactly right.
Well, we're still on break from MotoGP.
Right, but there's still some cool stuff that's happening. Yeah,
so there is one little update. We did a pretty good kind of silly season update at the last podcast that we did. One little update, and this is a rumor still. But apparently Jack Miller may not be so certain as a Yamaha-bound World Superbike rider.
Oh, what's the rumor?
Well, apparently Jack Miller, he is expecting a bit too much for Yamaha's blood in terms of his services. Rumor has it that he is expecting $1 million a year to go ride in World Superbike. And Yamaha World Superbike is saying that's probably a bit more. Sorry, we're all out of money. It all went to Quattraro. we are quite broke, actually. Broke. Yeah,
right. That's why our development is so slow. We gave him,
and I could see saying like, "Hey, buddy, it's World Superbike. Like, maybe you are a quality rider. It's World Superbike. It's not that kind of a price point." But my argument and why I think Jack is totally justified in asking for that kind of money, or maybe even more, is right now, without thinking, name me both the factory Yamaha World Superbike riders. Bet you can't do it.
Right.
Locatelli, right?
Right.
But even right now, I actually looked at this before the podcast. I can't remember the second name, and somebody in the comments already has it written down. But
right. Or they're a huge fan.
Yeah. But my point is, as soon as Jack Miller's in World Superbike, Jack Miller is half the story of World Superbike.
Yeah. And
right?
I'm on Jack's side with this. I think his skill, like listening to his interviews and what his knowledge base is, you want Jack. Mm-hmm. You do. And I mean, if he wants to race, I'm going to like go where you want to go, right? Have him, or just bring him in as your test rider. Cause my gosh, what that guy knows.
I just think he's done such a good job of building a reputation and a brand for himself that his sort of like cachet is worth a lot.
I agree.
Right? Because now Bulaga is going to be out of World Superbike. Toprak's out of World Superbike. Who exactly are you tuning in to watch at this point?
Or is this part of Liberty's way of separating MotoGP and World Superbike is kind of really make World Superbike a second tier series with less talent and less paychecks and
could be.
Right.
But I think if you're a World Superbike team and you're trying to get some eyes on your brands and on your sponsors and so forth, put Jack on the team. Like he's instantly going to be the biggest draw in World Superbike.
Totally agree.
So it sounds like right now, the only one who's got a checkbook deep enough for Jack is Honda right now.
I would love to see Jack on a Honda.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. It would be a little odd because he has such a good relationship with Ducati still.
Yeah.
And Yamaha loves him because he's gone to Suzuka for him several times.
And done very well.
Yeah. But frankly, he would go to Honda and go to Suzuka for them.
Yeah.
So
and for the Japanese brands, Suzuka is probably more
that's the
important
World
than
Series.
MotoGP. It's the most important motorcycle event of the year.
100%.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my MotoGP update.
So since
for
we're
the
talking
riders.
about World Superbike, I have a question for you because, I threw this offhanded comment out here just a minute ago. Is, Liberty maybe trying to downgrade World Superbike? So World Superbike back in the day used to be the only thing I would watch, right?
Oh, yeah,
because I felt like it was more relevant, right?
And it was exciting.
And I think to a certain extent, even current World Superbike is maybe a little bit more relevant. Mm-hmm. But has it got so pointy that I think a lot of the homologated MotoGP bikes, like the Panigales that we can go buy, the S1000Rs that we can go buy, yes, they are feats of engineering and they are incredible. But I've ridden them, you've ridden them. They're not really rideable by but a small percentage of the population. Has World Superbike pushed the threshold of a homologated street legal motorcycle just too gosh darn far? And so is it maybe not a bad idea if World Superbike gets reeled in? Just thinking big picture dreams.
If I could fix World Superbike, what would I do?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And by nature, you're also fixing top tier street sport bikes.
Yeah.
Right? Fixing. We're going to say that because they're amazing.
All right. So right now, the problem that Liberty's going to run into, I think Liberty bought. I'm going to make an assumption here. Liberty bought MotoGP and overpaid.
Yeah.
By a significant amount. They only paid.
They paid almost as much as what they paid for F1.
It's less, but I would not say that MotoGP is half as valuable as F1. I don't think it's even.
And we know it's twice as good.
But I don't think valuable. I don't think it's even 10% as valuable as F1, frankly. Because I still have to explain to everybody who I talk to who's not a fan, MotoGP, it's like F1 for motorbikes.
Right.
I never say F1's like MotoGP for cars, right? Right. So anyway, I think when they bought it, they sort of got World Superbike along with it, maybe without giving that a whole lot of thought. I don't think the powers that be really studied exactly what the differences were or what the series were. It was sort of like, and it comes with this lesser production-based series as well. And they're like, yeah, sure, throw it in. Let's go.
Right.
So the problem that they've got now, though, is next year, you go to 850 MotoGP bikes, no ride height devices, less power, less aero. So you're talking maybe 260 horsepower, give or take. You've got World Superbike making 250, 260 horsepower out of their thousands. They're going to be very similar in terms of performance and honestly looks, right? At a glance, if you are not a seasoned fan of MotoGP and I show you a 2-second clip of MotoGP and a 2-second clip of World Superbike, you probably don't know the difference.
Oh, no, I can even confirm that. I was at Eurosports yesterday and they have the Lenovo yellow.
Super pretty.
Oh, it's super pretty. But somebody walked in and called it a MotoGP bike.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
because to even a fan of motorcycles, but maybe not the deeply indoctrinated person, basically the motorcycle fan who isn't listening to us right now, right. They look the same.
Yeah.
So
big wings, numbers, pointy tail.
I'm with you. The two series, the overlap between them is so obvious at this point that I think Liberty's got a real problem on their hands with trying to separate them. So,
right. And how many world championships are there? It's World Superbike.
So the other problem this has is this trickles down into all production level racing, right? All right. So we're going to come back to British Superbike for one in a second, because I love them as a good example. If you go look at MotoAmerica right now, as much as I want to love the series, the Superbike series it's not good right now, and it hasn't been good for a while.
Right.
We have some good riders, we have some great teams, but we have like 5 great teams.
Right.
Total.
And no disrespect to either of the Joshes, but why is one of our top performing riders our age?
Exactly, yeah.
You know?
Right? Like there's this weird gap in ages in American Superbike racing that's happened right now. Now I'm not trying to dismiss. We have some younger talent coming up that's good, but it's not that the talent isn't there, it's that the series isn't letting them show
exactly.
what they can do.
It's not a criticism to any of the riders. They're just playing the game, right?
Yeah.
It's not any
But we've allowed what is considered a Superbike to get so out there. Like Attack Yamaha. Attack Yamaha. Attack Yamaha does a good job on social media, and they post a lot of stuff about setting up, because they're at Mid-Ohio this weekend. They show a lot about how they set up and run a team and run a bike. And you see the bike that they've got, and you're like, man, that's a piece of kit. That thing is wild. That's a cool machine. But it's so far beyond what a production bike is for their Superbike. The swing arm, I mean, so many parts about it are totally trick, one-off parts, that you've made being competitive in the series outside the scope of almost every other team.
Right. You can't afford.
Yeah. So what I would love World Superbike to do, and all the other Superbike series, frankly, is like bring it down to like super stock expectations.
Yeah.
Leave the swing arm alone. Leave the wheels alone. Leave all these things alone. Put some requirements on the types of things that you can run, but the types of things you can't. But bring the whole level of the bike down, the whole level of the data recording and the software, and bring everything down. Because the price has gotten so outrageous that you're spending a fortune to have a top 10-ish team. And then there's still guys that are way outspending you by 2 or 3x, right? I also am not a big fan of what they've allowed some of the teams to do with the homologations.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the V4R, the M1000 are unbelievable pieces of machinery, and they belong in a museum.
They do not belong on public roads.
Yeah,
right?
They're too much.
It's insane. Yeah. And like the cost, okay, it's cool to walk in and be like, oh, I'm looking at basically the equivalent of a Lamborghini or something like really unobtainium. But the homologated bikes are not all that unobtainable. I see them, like I see them at our local shop in Utah. You can walk in and look at them. You're like, holy crap, who can afford that?
Yep.
And people buy them. They sell every one that they get.
Yeah.
Right? And where are they going? And then what? Yeah. And you think about where Jack Miller came from. Let's go back to Jack as like this great example, right? 2 strokes. The two, like, okay, 2 strokes are antiquated. They have all these problems, but they were cheap to run.
Yeah.
They were simple and easy, and anybody could fix them. And they all had cassette transmissions. You put new pistons in them. It was very attainable, and it was a stepping stone up the series. And now, like, even like the Ovalis, $30,000 for an Ovali.
That GP7 is right at like just over 2022 or something.
Oh, it's $22,000, right? And then like,
but that's a kid's stepping stone bike, which is nuts.
How many parents have 20-some grand to go buy, like, for a kid to ride for 3 years, maybe?
And the other, we're a little off the Superbike subject here for a second, but I'm still like I've got 2 main gripes with MotoAmerica. One is they killed the Stock 1000 series, which I think was a total mistake, because what basically they had the Superbike series and the Stock 1000 series. Stock 1000 was most of your like privateer type guys,
right?
And a couple of teams who could.
We knew people who were racing.
And it was a great series because the level was where it should have been, where guys could you could actually buy and build a bike to go race. They dropped that series, and now they have this Cup series, which is supposed to be, they basically grid up and race with Superbike, but it's an almost Superbike, but they get no TV time, they get no attention. It's like they're trying to pad the grid for Superbike, basically, is all they were doing. So all these Stock 1000 guys were like, why am I going to pay twice as much to come race when I'm going to get way less airtime, way less opportunity to race?
My sponsors aren't getting any attention.
So, and sure enough, the Stock 1000 class, which was pretty full, is gone. And Superbike has like a couple extra guys in it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like they totally shot themselves in the foot. I think that was a huge mistake. I'm hoping they unwind it. The other thing that still kills me, their junior feeder series is on these Kramer 350s. I love Kramer.
Yeah, me too.
I think someday I may own a Kramer.
Right.
Because I love the idea of this hyper.
Our buddy Tom has the 690 Kramer or whatever. Have you seen it up close? Have you gone and looked at it?
Well, I know several guys that have the 890s.
Even the 690, it's a single. It's a single. And you're still looking at it. It's more affordable, the 690 or whatever it is. But it's such a Kramer German. It is the most pro looking, and it's affordable. It's not like the 890 Kramers are way more money.
They're like 40 grand.
Yeah. But the 690 is like, I think it's like 25 or something 30, like that. Right. Which isn't, but it comes built.
Yeah.
You know?
But my gripe is the very junior youth feeder series is on these specialty built Kramer 350s. And they may be phenomenal. It uses a 350 KTM engine instead of Kramer bike. They're like 28 grand.
Yeah.
Or some like
too much money.
And their resale value is zero.
Right.
Because who the heck else wants that thing?
Right.
Like I don't want one. It's too slow.
It's not even like if they did like RC 390s or something.
Yeah,
it was more attainable, more
so
achievable.
You're basically saying, hey, are you 14 years old and want to go be a motorcycle racer? Are mom and dad loaded? Because if not, hit the road.
Right.
That's basically
how much
what we're
talent
saying.
are we turning away that they just can't? Where back even when we were kids, you could go buy a CBR 600
or like the junior kids were like, you could go buy a 125 two-stroke.
Yeah, the RS 125s. They were everywhere. Like
and go run a couple seasons
even like the 250s and stuff like that. You could, and there was stepping stones. Like even when I was of the age to get started, I could have bought a CBR 600 F2 or an FCR 600 or even an FCR 400, and I could have taken it racing.
Yep.
And and like there was a path to go from whatever your regional level was right to the national level. And we knew people who made it into the world level.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And those paths are all closed.
Yeah, unless you're loaded. Yeah. So number one gripe. So somehow we turn this into like an old man bitching about MotoAmerica.
Well, it's not. It's like what we're bitching about is that there's no path for kids to get into it.
I guess how would we fix it, right? That's what we're talking about. How would I fix this problem? One, I would go back to having a stock 1000 series and a proper stock 1000 series.
Like super stock. You can't modify anything.
Well, yeah, very limited anyway, right? So it's like basically like a slight notch above a club racing bike.
Exactly.
It's pretty basic still. I would, if I'm MotoAmerica, I would have an East Coast and a West Coast series.
Oh, yeah, I guess
for that level,
the scale of
because the travel's absurd. When
America's
gas is
a big place.
Well, and gas is $5-6 a gallon. Yeah, it's a lot for these guys.
Yeah, and they're like gone are the day of the guy putting a race bike in his Econoline. And hitting the series. But man, that sounds so romantic now, doesn't it?
Yeah. But put a West Coast series together and an East Coast series, and then have just like Supercross does, and then have a culmination in Road America, Wisconsin, someplace kind of in the middle, something like that, to let them all come together and be like, "Yep, this guy wins the overall."
How fun would that be?
I would love to have West Coast guys we're West Coast, obviously. I'd love to have West Coast guys to cheer for it. And be like, that guy came to Utah. I know that guy. He's awesome. Right? Like, I would love that. And then go root for them at Road America in Wisconsin. I think that would be a great way to do it. So
you're almost dealing like American League, National League baseball, right?
Yeah.
Where you got the whatever. And like you get kind of how fun. I think it's fun. Anyway. Yeah.
So
great point.
I think that would fix your Superbike thing for privateers at least. I would love to tick down what a Superbike means.
Yeah.
I think it's gotten too extreme.
It's too extreme. That's my big issue.
If you want to go MotoAmerica Superbike racing, you've got to go buy a $40,000 swing arm. That's insanity.
Right.
Because the first crash you have, that thing is toast.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, and even the Panigales, right? Like the V2s and the whatever, they're so amazing until you crash and then they break into three pieces.
Yeah.
It's not like the old days.
It just isn't sustainable to have a proper series and have it grow. Because to the fan experience, let's say the bikes go half a second a lap slower.
Dude, they care.
Can you even tell?
No,
I can't tell.
I can't tell.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why like I'm not too concerned about the 1000s to the 850s because like now they're all chasing these lap records and you're like, I don't care.
It's not made the racing better as far as I can tell.
It's not made the racing better. But what made the racing better was getting rid of the whole shot devices.
Yep. So I think you have to start ticking down what a superbike means and dial it back because it's the cost has just gotten outrageous. Second thing for MotoAmerica, I love Kramer, but let Kramer go sell bikes to dentists. That's what Kramer's for. They're not there for a junior series for kids. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So
let's look at a good example to where you're going with that point, not to distract you. But I think what Royal Enfield is doing with the BTR series, we could build off of that because a freaking Royal Enfield Continental, their little sport bike,
whatever it is,
retro sport bike thing, $6,000, right? The racing is great fun because they're all like unbelievably easy to fix. Why are we not doing more of those things? They are attainable. They are achievable.
Yeah.
Well,
hey, you're MotoAmerica. Hey, it's the 2028 season. Ring up Yamaha and say, gosh, we really think that R7's quite something.
Right. Well, ring up Royal Enfield and let's just put them all in Continentals. Racing's racing,
but my point with the R7 is
it's more modern.
Well, but it's also the engine in Moto3 now.
Right.
Starting in 2028.
Which would be a great path to chase.
So just put all these kids on and sell them a package, right? Hey, to get a spec bike that's prepped and built.
And not to loyal in on Yamaha, right? You could do the same thing with the Honda CBR 500R, right?
I think in my mind right now, your two options would be an Aprilia 660 and an R7.
Yeah, those are the two
best ones in this class.
Yeah.
And I'm obviously an Aprilia fan. I have an RSV4. You have an RSV4. My wife has a 660. I love Aprilias. I still wouldn't say that that's the bike for the junior class
because it's $5,000 more.
And Aprilia's a small brand and a smaller manufacturer, and Yamaha could be like, yeah, here's 40 R7s. Go nuts.
They wouldn't even blink. We'll just sell 5 more pianos.
Yeah, exactly. Sell it to the kids. Prepped bodywork, exhaust.
Even do the partnership. Was it Graves they did the partnership with years ago? It was all kind of.
Here's your bike for $15,000. Go.
Oh my gosh. Right.
And every kid's on the same bike, fiddle with suspension, whatever.
Paint yours purple, paint yours orange,
I can't believe that we went to the Kramer direction that we did. Again, no disrespect to Kramer. I love
They're amazing.
them.
But
this just
too
isn't
expensive.
their spot.
Even the Ovales, the Ovales were built to be something affordable and easy for kids to get into. And we keep speccing them up, right? We keep making them fancier. Your nephews, he has the nice one.
GP7 is badass.
Holy
that
crap.
Thing is cool.
You look at that thing. You look at the details on that thing. And you're looking at the hanger for the front brake caliper.
Yeah,
and
it's
you're
a jewel.
Oh my God, this thing is gorgeous. And he's a 14-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And he's just as happy doing wheelies on his little electric scooter half the time. Because
Yeah.
he's a kid.
Yeah, yeah.
And all these old men are wow, look at the axle and the axle carrier, it's hinged and and he's I'm a kid, but the R7 would be more
So if you're listening, MotoAmerica, do what we said.
That's right, because we know
Fix this whole
we
thing.
predicted a lot of things.
We're right.
But let's zero back into World Superbike because I think World Superbike has the same problem with these homologated race bikes are too much.
I'll give you a counterpoint to World Superbike here.
Because BSB I think has done very well.
So BSB
is like a shining example.
Yeah, so let's go back to BSB for a second then. So what they've done is they've said it's super bikes, they're 1,000 cc's, they're Ducatis, they're Hondas, they're whatever, they're the big bikes. Go for it. You don't get traction control, you don't get wheelie control, you don't get slide control. You can have some engine brake management. That's it. That's all you get.
And it makes for such fun racing.
And and you can't just tune the engine to 10/10ths because it's unrideable.
They're unrideable, right? Because they'll be wheeling.
You're gonna spin them all off. They can't do it. And they're on these tight, sketchy little tracks that
British tracks. They're old airfield tracks, right?
So the handling of the bike is actually more important than almost anything. And they've built a series that is just fantastic to watch. It's tons of fun. And I mean, they still have some specialty stuff that they do with the bikes. It's a slightly different market than America, but by saying the electronics are down here no matter what you do, I think you bring the level of other things down and the tuning and all these other things down to a point where they've got a bunch of good teams in a full grid, and it's exciting.
Yes, and it's clearly different from MotoGP. Right?
Yeah, because they're sliding and it's bucking and it looks all out of control, and it's like a rodeo. It's tons of fun.
It's great fun, and it would be like maybe just hand the reins of World Superbike to the BSB people.
Just follow those rules. Yeah. The other point I'll bring up is right now, if you go watch MotoAmerica, the best racing in MotoAmerica is the super sport class. I don't think they actually even call it super sport. It's like their middleweight class, but it's basically at the front of the pack. It's a bunch of last gen Ducati V2s.
Right.
Those things out of the box make about 140, 150 horsepower.
It's a good number.
Pretty lightweight, very manageable. It's a V-twin, so the traction's easy. And dude, the racing with Heron and Binder and the gal Kayla, I forget her last name.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's
phenomenal.
What a talent.
It is the most exciting racing to go watch. And I'm sitting there watching it, and they've got OEM wheels and OEM swing arm and I've talked with engine builders who have dealt with those bikes in the past. They don't touch the engine all year. They replace the clutch every round because they just put a fresh clutch in, but they don't touch the engine all year.
The race starts hard on clutches. Yeah.
And 150 horsepower, and it just runs all year, and it's cheap. And they're like, it's actually one of the cheapest bikes to race in this series.
Holy crap. Do that.
So there's your blueprint. Find a spec where you wind up at about that level of power, maybe a little more, maybe up to 200 even, let's just say. But it's out of the box.
No, I think there's a big threshold. There is a big difference between 150 and 200 horsepower. So
no doubt. I'm just saying
that's why I think if you want to make it separate,
but what I'm saying is these brands, if you go buy a Honda off the showroom, it makes 200 horsepower.
Right. But those things are monsters. Those things are fire-breathing dragons.
But what I guess what I'm saying is cool, leave it alone. Don't touch the engine. Don't make it make 250.
I think my argument is I don't think we should be having 200 horsepower street bikes. And I say that owning it to almost
cover this part.
Number one.
Don't look at this.
But it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah,
it's how many people are scaring the wee out of themselves and they give up the sport because they're like, oh, my hero's riding this thing. I can go buy it. Whereas when I was a kid, it was the YZF 7.
Yeah.
That Colin Edwards was racing. And there was one on the plinth in Carey Brothers Motorsports in Ogden. And it sat there for 3 years because they couldn't sell it. But it was a 750 carbureted, right? But it was the aluminum frame, not the steel frame. Yeah. And you're like, oh, I would just dream about that thing, But you look back at what that thing was then compared to what it is now. It maybe made 130 horsepower, maybe.
At the time, it was fire breathing.
Yeah,
and
it was
scary.
insane. It was the 750. It was the race one. Nobody was racing 1000s. Get the 750.
So, anyway,
tell us what you think. That's what I want to know.
I'm curious.
What do you think about where we're going with this, right? Where do you want to see racing go? Because to me, MotoGP should be pinnacle. Right?
And it should be absurd and it should be outrageous, just like Formula One.
Yeah, I don't 300 horsepower. Okay, cool. Out of an 850, right on.
Yeah,
we bitch about the ride heights and the electronic aid stuff. I kind of agree with a lot of Casey Stoner's thinking that a lot of those things separate the good riders from the excellent riders, and we want that. But what do we want out of racing? Because honestly, I'm so busy, I can't watch all of this series that are out there. But I also see such an importance of being able to feed kids into the system. Otherwise, we're not going to have racing to watch in 10 years.
Speaking of racing, I think I did a little bit of digging on this after one of the last Moto2 rounds because I was sort of amazed thinking about this. All right. Little history lesson. Let's go back to 20 years. So it's 2026, 2006. 2006 MotoGP was when Nicky Hayden won it on the the Honda, right?
Repsol Honda.
990s.
One of the prettier MotoGP
right?
eras.
5-cylinder.
Yeah, those were such great
Special
bikes.
bikes.
V5. Bring back the V5.
Right now, if you go look at the record books, if you look at the lap times that they were setting on the 2006 MotoGP bikes, and then you go look at the lap times that they're setting on the Moto2 Triumph street bike based engines, the Triumphs at a lot of tracks are like 2 to 3 seconds faster.
I don't doubt it. Did you look up the horsepower of the V5 Honda while you were doing your research?
So, and that's my point to this is, in 20 years, what has been the biggest change or evolution or advancement in motorcycles, right? Because we think, well, aero, right? I mean, if you look at bikes now, they look like spaceships, right? Well, the Moto2 bikes have almost no aero.
Right.
Is it electronics? Well, the Moto2 bikes have almost no electronics. They have a little bit of engine brake control they can do, but they have no wheelie control, no slide control, no TC, like very limited electronics. Well, is it power? Well, obviously not. The 2006 Honda RC 211V was making just over 250 to 260 horsepower. If you're very generous to that Triumph engine in Moto2, it's making about 140, maybe 150.
Right. And even if you go back to the very first gen V5s, they were making like 180, right?
I think they were a little over 200 even back then.
Even I thought at the very beginning, they were just under 200 at the very beginning, and then they pushed them up pretty fast.
Yeah. So,
which is crazy. You can go buy a street bike now that had more horsepower than a MotoGP bike from 25 years ago.
So it's not electronics. It's not aero. It's definitely not power, because the new bikes the Moto2 bikes probably 100 horsepower at least down versus the old ones. And I don't know that it's rider talent, right? I don't think that you could go, no disrespect to the current Moto2 riders, but I don't think you could grab one of those guys, put him back in 2006 and have him walk the floor with Rossi and Hayden and all those guys.
Lord, no.
Right?
No.
So then what is it?
Well, it's obvious.
It's tires.
It's freaking tires.
Tires.
And I'm saying that, like, even this thing behind you, right? All right. I used to run sport touring tires, right? And, you know, like how I ride and the aggregate in our roads and whatever, a sport touring tire would maybe last me 5,000 miles, right? Well, now in today's world, I put Hypersport tires on my touring bikes. I get infinitely more grip. They warm up faster. You know how long they typically last me?
About the same.
About 4,000 miles.
Yeah.
So, like, what am I giving up for 1,000 miles, right? I'm giving up the last 1,000 miles where the tire's crap anyway.
Yeah.
And I get all this insane amounts of grip and feedback and wet weather performance, and they can deal with the heat and the way they... Tires are a marvel. The modern tire, like how far they've come. And I started off riding on bias ply.
Yeah.
I remember when the radials came out.
You were on wagon wheels,
We
Dave.
were on wagon wheels.
Yeah.
I remember we thought it was fun and hilarious when I was a kid and I was stupid that we would put the tires on the white line because they would slip and slide and you could get them to feather. Tires don't feather anymore. Feathering, it would like rub the rubber off the side of the tire so it looked like the fingers of a feather.
Yeah.
And you would do that by putting the tires on the paint lines and getting it just slipping the thing around a corner. I can't believe I did that. I was young and stupid. But you couldn't even do that with a modern tire. It would stick just as great on the paint as it would unless it's raining, you know?
And so the track that illustrates this better than any of them. So if you go back to 2006 and compare those fastest lap times versus Moto2 fastest lap times the last year or so, at probably over half the tracks, the Moto2 bikes are faster. Over half.
Yeah,
the only tracks where the old MotoGP bikes are faster are things like Sepang or Qatar, where you have a slow exit onto a long straightaway because it doesn't matter what tire you got. If you got an extra 110 horsepower, you know,
you have almost a whole motorcycle's horsepower
But here's the one that's crazy. If you look at the lap times from back in that era to the current Moto2 lap times at Mugello, has a monster straightaway, right? It's typically where MotoGP sets their fastest trap speed of the season is Mugello. I might butcher this a little bit. The MotoGP bikes from 2006 we're doing right at like 218, just under 220 miles an hour at Mugello. The current Moto2 bikes are doing like 185, 186 at Mugello.
That's crazy because that's about what you and I see on our leader bikes on our track down the full straight.
But you're giving up, let's call it 35 to almost 40 miles per hour top speed on that front straight.
It's crazy that they're getting those kind of speeds, though. I'm a little impressed.
And the Moto2 bike turns almost an identical fastest lap time. So they're making up all of that distance.
Speed.
And it's not on the brakes because Moto2 runs steel brakes and MotoGP runs carbon brakes, even back then, right?
Yeah.
So the brakes were better. The bikes, the weight, the current Moto2 minimum weight, it's a rider bike, combined thing. But basically, the bikes come out to being about like 2 to 4 pounds heavier than the old MotoGP bikes.
Isn't that big of a number?
So they're basically the same weight. And the Moto2 bikes can still turn a faster lap time.
Tires.
I just can hardly wrap my head around how much tires have improved in 20 years.
You can, though, because if I were to put you back on the tires, we were talking about this before we sat down. Mm-hmm. Before you really got heavy into racing, we were doing the control riding.
Yeah.
And we were riding the same Hypersport tires for track days on the same bike that we would turn around and just ride on the street.
Yeah.
Like it was. And compare those tires to what we have available to them now. These things that I am going to, go slab up to wherever up to the Great White North are stickier and grippier than the tires I was hypersporting track daying on in 2006.
I think it's wild, and I think my takeaway from it is I will always be on the latest, greatest tire that's available.
Well, especially the older I get. I was thinking about this. Since I had more money, not really more money, but like maybe I'm more judicious with the money. Like I don't have to buy a couch anymore. The couch is paid for.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
I get
like
what you're
those
saying.
kind of things, right? So the discretionary income goes into tires because when I was 26 and you're like, oh, if I fall, I'll heal. It'll be fine. I don't have money for new tires. And now I'm like, 50s, and it's like, no, I can't afford to fall. I'm going to put I remember like Freddie Spencer, like 8 years ago or 9 years ago, I was talking to Freddie Spencer and he goes, I just put the stickiest tires I can. And that's what I run. And I'm like, yeah, good for you. Cause you're freaking Freddie Spencer.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I'm just putting the stickiest tires I can because it's the huge safety thing. And why wouldn't you? And what's the cost difference anyway? Like, what are you really saving?
Yep.
Right. And what they're freaking capable of. I can't believe these things last better than touring tires did.
Well, and I guess the takeaway here, other than it's like staggering to think about what a difference it's made to the actual speed of these bikes and the performance of these bikes, is just the tires. As a street rider or a track rider, please just don't ride on even questionable tires.
There's two sides to this argument, right? Because, doing a lot of the coaching that we do out at the track with the people, I see people getting away with things on modern tires that if they would have learned on a mediocre tire, they never would have got away with, right? And so you can get away with bad habits until you can't, right? And I think that goes to like the point you're making. These tires are so good that sometimes you don't realize when you're on the limit of the tires wore out, you're putting mismatched tires on because it seems to be fine. It is fine until it isn't,
right?
Kind of a thing. Even though the tires are amazing, you still need to treat them with a pretty high level of respect.
I guess my thought about it, and maybe my view's a little bit slanted because my riding is mostly track riding at this point. So unless you're commuting and you use your motorcycle to literally get you from A to B, right? It's your actual vehicle to get
And a lot
around.
of people use them that way.
And that's totally fine. And if that's the case, if you're like, I just got to get to the grocery store and I got to get back, or I got to get to work and I got to get back. But for a lot of folks, I think a lot of folks listening, you're probably using your bike because it's a recreational vehicle.
Or I'm guessing if you're listening based on the comments, you're interested in the pointy end of the stick.
Right.
You are looking at improving. You want to become a more proficient rider.
I don't really I could make an argument for basically all of the major tire brands.
They're all good.
They're all good at things, right? They all kind of have their strengths and weaknesses, and maybe not. It's not even weaknesses.
We've talked a little bit about this in past podcasts, like that some brands are better at certain environmental conditions than other environmental brands, and so like people they're really loyal to brand A.
Yeah,
it is until you put it into another environment, and then brand A isn't as good as brand B. Yeah. But it's not saying brand A is better than brand B. It's just contextual.
Yeah. But my point is, if you're on a tire, if you're listening and you're thinking, yeah, my tire tread is getting a little bit thin, just go put new tires on
and put a set on.
Yeah, and
because tires heat cycle at the same rate, right? The front tire doesn't wear out like the rear tire, but typically, it kind of does.
Yeah,
because it gets cupped the way it can push water out. The handling it gets under trail braking. What was the Michelin thing, right? There's so much riding on your tires, and they had the baby, but like, there's so much riding on your tires. It's your contact to the road. What is it like? Come on, you were military. Your boots, right? Wear good boots.
Yeah.
Put good tires on. Your contacts to the ground are your most important component to your safety. Scrimping on tires. Okay, we were just talking about how expensive a freaking motorcycle costs now, right? You go buy a $30,000 motorcycle. Maybe you can only afford a $20,000 motorcycle. Still an obscene number.
Yeah.
Right? And then you scrimp on tires. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Way to ruin it for yourself.
What was our friend? We had a good friend. I'm going to retell his story. And he's like, he was doing track days. Mm-hmm. And he would do the thumbnail thing, right? And the thumbnail thing doesn't work anyway, by the way, guys. It's nonsense. The tires rubber has changed. It used to kind of work. And he's like, oh, I'm doing track days. I want it to still be grippy. And he'd stick his thumbnail in. He goes, oh, I think I can get one more day out of these tires. I think I can get one more day, right? And halfway through that day, the tire just and he low-sided and the bike went into the dirt and then flipped onto the other side. And so you got to think about tires as amateurized, right? So he got 3 or 4 days, maybe 5. I mean, it was an SV 650. He got 6 or 8 days out of those tires, right?
Right.
And he was pushing for one more day. The price of those tires for one more day was $30.
Yeah, whatever.
And then that $30, the unwillingness to that $30 thing cost him a set of bodywork, a pair of clip-ons, a broken collarbone, and a smashed up pipe.
Yep.
Just buy the tires. Just it's cheaper in the long run.
Yeah. So anyway, put fresh tires on your bike. Just enjoy, because I had this experience to a much lower level in my car. I just put fresh tires on my car.
Right.
My tires, I had the OEM tires in my car, and they were pretty knackered, but there was finally time to put new ones on.
In a car all the time because we're motorcycle people. You're
it's a car. It's just got to get me to work.
4 of them. If one fails, I got 3 more.
But I put fresh tires on, and I was like, oh my God, it's a brand new car.
Yeah, it's a brand new car.
So, yeah. But you have that same experience, even at the track. Like, I will put on fresh tires for a race way before the last set's dead or gone.
Well, I know. It benefits me hugely because you hand me your takeoffs and then I run your rear takeoff.
But you get, as soon as the upper crust, the tippy tip of the performance of the tire is gone, it's no good to me as a race tire anymore.
Right. But for me as a track day coach, it's beautiful for me. Yeah. It's perfect.
So you're always putting on the freshest tire. So I'm used to always having mostly optimal grip, right? But on the car, I was kind of letting it slide, right? Letting it go away because let it slide. Yeah,
there's the 4 of.
But most people aren't that way. Most people aren't racing, and they're not concerned about having the absolute first best bit.
Yeah, they're looking like, I want that 60,000 mile warranty.
But if your tires are well past that, you're in that kind of they're kind of on the fence. I should probably change them before next spring. Just change them now.
Well, even in the car
Enjoy
tire
the rest
world,
of the year.
We live in a winter climate. Yeah. And so how many times in your life you're like, these tires will last longer, but I'm not heading into winter with these tires.
No, not a chance. Yeah. Right. Not a chance.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and here's another thought with that too. And I was talking to a good friend of mine. He writes motorcycles, parts and accessories here in Salt Lake City. It's one of the best. It's not a dealership. They just sell tires and jackets and stuff
just
like
good
that.
Humans too.
Yeah, awesome human. But he was making this really great point that he sees all these people come in, kids typically, that they're like, oh, the rear tires wore out, I'll replace it. And they're like, but the front tire's still fine. And then the front tire wears out and they come in, they put a front tire on, the rear tire's still fine. And so for basically the entire time they own that motorcycle,
It's never actually good.
yeah, they're always chasing a new set of tires. It's never actually good. They're always compromised on one end or the other.
Yeah.
And it used to be back in my day that we would run, like it would be like the Michelin Pilot Road. We would put the road tire on the rear and the Michelin Pilot Sport, the grippier tire on the front, and then they would wear out at roughly the same time. And so you would be, and then you had the grippier tire on the front anyway, which was a happy feeling.
Yep.
But now the way tires are engineered, they are actually wearing out closer to the same rate. The manufacturers figured out it is more important to have a grippier front than a rear. And so
they adjust the compounds.
So don't chase a new set of tires. Just put on a new set of tires.
I guess one more point, just as a tip for people at home. You may look at a tire the way you look at a car tire, right? And you're like, oh, I got plenty of tread depth. But Dave mentioned earlier heat cycles. If you have like a sporty tire of any kind, and probably the touring tires are this way too.
Touring tires are exactly the same way. They have more silica in them, so they're a little bit more stable, but blah, blah, blah.
Every time you heat that thing up and it actually gets hot enough to be super grippy, you're pulling a bit of oil to the surface of the tire.
Called outgassing.
Yeah. And if you've ever looked at a tire and it kind of has that like bluish kind of like texture to it, that's the oil that's been pulled to the surface that cooled.
You've changed the chemical compound of your tire.
But you basically do this enough times, these heat cycles, even if there's plenty of tread depth left, you've baked out that tire. It is not the same rubber that it was when you bought it. So it may have plenty of depth, but the grip of the rubber itself is much, much lower now.
Right, exactly.
And so there's like an age component to this. And it's not just like, oh, they're old and they're dry rot. Like it's, no. It's old, period. Just change it.
Right.
Even though it looks like a good tire.
Well, I'm going to throw out the example with a brand. I don't usually like talking about brands, but Michelins are really good typically in cold, wet climates. And
the French tire company, you say.
The French tire company is good in like, so you talk to people who live in Scotland or the Pacific Northwest and they're like, oh, these Michelin tires are amazing. But they're wildly popular here. And so people keep buying them here. And I'm like, I really wish you wouldn't. And it's not that Michelin's a bad tire, but what happens is they outgas and you're like, oh, but my rear tire lasted me 12,000 miles. And you're like,
it's a chunk of iron.
Yeah, because it had baked out. They're not really good at hot temperatures. It went through so many heat cycles. That tire got like hard and brittle. And yeah, it's not wearing, but it also has no grip. Yeah. And so a lot of this comes down to user requirements. Maybe you don't care, you commute. Yep. And so like, oh, I don't care. I just need it. That's fine. That's a legitimate reason. But if you are looking for the grip thing, the heat cycles are a huge part of it. And just the fact that it lasted a long time. Back again, I'm saying this a lot in this podcast and I feel bad. Back in my day, we would go buy the takeoffs from the racers. And you would go buy the D207 Sport Max?
Oh man,
Dunlop. That was the shit hot tire.
Yeah.
Right. And guys are like, I got 10,000 miles out of this rear tire, and you're like, yeah, because it was baked out.
I can't believe you're not on your head. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. You could have put wood on that, and it would have. The pine would have gripped just as well. At this point. And so like understanding all of these things, so you can make informed decisions. Right. Yeah. I don't ever want to be like, you need to run tire A. No. Yeah. I want you to be able to make informed decisions. So what's going to work for you?
So since we're on the topic of tires, are you comfortable talking about what tires you put on here?
Yeah, I'm totally comfortable. I posted about it.
So what tire did you put on and why did you put these ones on?
I've been typically running Pirelli Metzlers on all my personal motorcycles for years because they do really, really well in hot, dry climates. Yeah. But with the more bike testing I've been doing, a lot of the press bikes are coming with the Bridgestone S22s, mm-hmm. and I was really impressed with them. I liked the feel, I liked the carcass, everything about them. So on this one, and I know they've been out for a little while, but I haven't had a press bike with them, I put the Bridgestone S23s on.
And this is like the Hypersport.
It's a Hypersport. It's a Hypersport tire on a bike that I'm going to go put 3,000 miles on.
Yeah.
And my reasoning is Bridgestone's Pirelli Metzler, same company, they run a 0 degree belt and a soft carcass. Yep. So they're very compliant. The 0 degree belt you end up with a rounder tire, but they're really compliant. So they give you a ton of feedback, even on our race tires, right? We always talk about, even like Oxley Baum talks about the Pirellis. Like, if you do something, their Pirelli's like, are you sure you want to do that? I don't know if you want to do that.
There's a lot of feedback.
Like, they talk to you constantly, and they're wonderful. But on this big, heavy, super high horsepower motorcycle, I felt like the Pirellis were getting squirmy, especially when I put luggage on it. It was just, the tire was folding, and I wanted to try something that had a high level of grip, but maybe a slightly stiffer carcass, so it'd hold its shape a little bit more. Bridgestone's a Japanese company. I've had wonderful luck with Bridgestone throughout my riding career. My favorite tires have always leaned towards, this is personal, this isn't affiliated, is Pirelli Metzler, Bridgestones, and then Dunlops are typically how I've ranked my personal approach to tires. And that's why we're going to give them a try. And the guy I buy tires from, he's like, are you sure you want to ride the Bridgestones? Yeah. And I was like, no, I really want. It's like, I don't know. I'm more of a Pirelli guy. And I was like, I know Pirellis are great, but I want to try these Bridgestones.
Yeah.
So,
well, will you be back from your trip before the next podcast?
Yes.
Yeah, you'll have to be, I guess.
I'll be back. I'll be back for the next podcast.
So we'll get to hear your thoughts on
what I thought about the Bridgestone S23s. I'm really so, for comparison, on Mrs. Canyon Chaser's bike, we put on a brand new set of Rosso 4s, which are the equivalent. And so,
that's not quite the tippy top performance tire, is it?
Pirelli's kind of pain, and they do Rosso and Rosso Corsa.
Oh, okay.
So there's a Rosso Corsa 4. There's a set of those, 2 sets of those sitting up there. I've run a fair bit of those.
Okay.
I ran, the Rosso 4s were on this last time.
Okay.
And I liked them. They're a great tire.
Yep.
I put those on my wife's motorcycle because I trust that there's a really good tire.
Her bike is a
Hyper Strata. It's a smaller engine.
So it's lighter, smaller bike in general.
It's only 130 horsepower.
Yeah, not this thing.
Not this monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I think for like the lighter, she likes the Pirellis. She likes how compliant they are. She likes the feel of them. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
Well, I'm interested to see how this goes for you.
Yeah.
This is a good experiment.
Yeah. The S22s that I've thrashed. I have abused some S22s and been unbelievably impressed with what they did.
I haven't raced or ridden on a Bridgestone tire since probably 2012. Frankly, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
It's what I ran. So years ago, I raced a Moriwaki MD 250H.
And the only thing you could get for those things were the Bridgestones, weren't they?
I think I could also get a Dunlop or a Pirelli or something, but I gravitated. I tried the Pirellis, or the Bridgestones rather. I tried them once, and they wore great, and they had tons of grip, and I just never switched again.
Right.
I can remember the feeling of like infinite front grip on the Bridgestone.
That's what Bridgestone is historically known for, is an insanely good front tire.
It felt like the only actual limit to the front tire was my own
courage.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say something else, but it's probably not quite appropriate for the podcast. But that seemed like the only limit to the actual grip of the front end was me. And it just seemed endless what you could get away with on them.
I think the Bridgestone MotoGP years were the best years.
It was kind of the same way too. Like
they loved the front.
The riders there was many cold tire high side in that era,
that's
right? That's
right. I forgot about that.
Once they got them hot, and once the riders could get their brain to just turn off and just brake like a lunatic, you were like, oh, I guess I can just keep braking deeper and later, right? And so anyway, I was always impressed by them, but I've never actually ridden a Bridgestone on a big bike. I've been
really tempted because we've been riding Pirellis for years. No complaints with the Pirellis. I mean, not meaningful complaints, right? Characteristic complaints, right?
I ran the Pirellis on racing and on the track. I ran the Pirellis for over a decade.
Yeah, me too.
So I had lots of time on them.
Well, when they went to the 125 front tire.
I love the 125.
I wish all of these tires would go to 125s. Like, I'm surprised we're still running 120s when 125s were so good.
But I've been on the Dunlops for the last 2 years.
So have I, because I follow you where you go.
And they're different, but they've definitely proven, like, I've gone faster.
I prefer the front tire. I prefer the Dunlop front tire.
As I say, I've gone faster on the Dunlops than I've ever gone on the Pirellis on all configurations of racetrack. Yeah. I've gone faster on the Dunlops.
And it's the front tire that I like. I really like the Dunlop front tire. I've been really tempted to try the Bridgestones. And like you're racing, so I almost bought a set, but I just bought another Dunlop.
Yeah.
This last time because it's a lot of risk. It feels like when you're at the pointy end of the stick. Early on, when I was doing this early on, I was doing more tire testing.
Yep.
And you would, even with big brands, twice I ended up with like a bad design.
Yeah.
And one almost resulted in a big crash, and the other one did result in a big crash. And so I've been really, really, really reluctant to test tires because falling down is awful. And
and one of the tough things with testing tires is, at least at track riding, you need to be able to like commit to it long enough to get your head around it.
Right, you have to learn the language.
Yeah, because when I first switched from Pirelli to Dunlop, again, we're coming from well over a decade on Pirelli, and I switched to Dunlop.
You're fluent in Pirelli.
Yeah, and I couldn't speak Dunlop.
Say we.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Yeah.
We.
Yeah.
No. You're saying it wrong. Say we.
I couldn't figure out how to understand the front tire, and that took me. That took me like half a season.
It did, and we had to run such crazy different pressures on the Dunlops.
Pressures were different,
which still melts my brain.
Yeah, the feedback was totally different, and now that I'm used to the Dunlops, I like them a lot. I'm faster on them than I was in the Pirellis. But it's totally a different set of feedback that I'm getting. It's not at all the same. Like right now, if you say, "Hey, Brian, you have to run Pirellis again," I feel like I'd have to like unwind everything.
I'll bet you'd be able to switch back to the Pirellis pretty quickly.
Maybe.
I think you would. Yeah, because you haven't. I've switched back and forth twice now where I've had to jump back because the Pirellis were the only thing that were available. That's what I put on for that day. And I had a great time.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I know, Opa, what they're saying and off you go.
Yeah.
And then, but I'm like, I'm kind of ready to get back on the Dunlop.
Yeah. So it's kind of a tricky thing. So like the tough thing too, though, if you're a street guy, you don't switch tires that often. Maybe twice a year you put new tires on if you're riding a ton.
Right.
Right.
And I'll bet you, let us know that you're loyal to a tire. That you're like, I these. Yep. I trust this tire. That's what I want to run. And so, and then you get kind of, I remember like in my early Bridgestone years, they had the BT021, which was the sport touring tire that I loved. It had this crazy weird pattern in the rear.
The groove?
Yeah, the way the sipe worked on the rear tire. So like when I was riding behind my wife, you could see the water go whoosh, whoosh.
Oh, interesting.
Those things were great. The BT021s or whatever. And then when they switched to the BT022 or the 023 or whatever, they changed it and the tire was not the same. And it was like a sense of betrayal. Like it was kind of and Pirelli did the same thing with the Angels and the Angel GT2s. The Angel GTs were amazing. The GT2s were like, I don't like this tire.
Oh, interesting.
And I got to go find something else. And that like kind of leads you down this like kind of a thing. Because like on a touring tire, you're committed. This is going to be 5,000 miles of my life.
Yeah, I'm with this thing for a while.
Yeah. Several months, I'm going to be dealing with this thing.
Yeah. So I guess the takeaway here is like, be willing to experiment a little bit, to some extent. You may find a brand that suits you better, but just be on good tires at all times.
Yeah, be on good tires and be willing to learn a new tire.
Yeah.
And I would say too, don't be tire loyal. They all ebb and flow on what's the premium tire. I believe that the companies who are actively involved in racing end up with a better range.
Yep.
Bridgestone's not super actively involved in racing right now. I don't know that like this is typically atypical of what I would follow.
Right.
Kind of a thing.
Yeah. I think, but this is a little more fit for purpose for you, right?
Yeah, it's fit for purpose. And I've got to ride them on press bikes. So I've got kind of a cheat advantage.
So one last thing I want to talk about before we end the podcast. So on the last podcast, if you listened, all of a sudden we sort of ended abruptly. And that was my fault. Because on this microphone, it's very easy to accidentally hit the mute button without realizing it. And I muted myself with about 5 minutes to go. And so we had to do a bit of editing to cut me out. But one of the things that we were talking about right when, of course, I hit the mute button was I've had multiple comments on recent videos of you guys are talking like 2026, like who's basically competitive right now in MotoGP is who will be competitive next year with the 850s.
Right. Yes.
And the comment is basically like, I don't think it's fair to assume that the front of the pack right now is going to be the front of the pack next year.
Like, just because Aprilia is doing good this year doesn't mean Aprilia will be good next year. Just because Yamaha's bad this year doesn't mean they'll be bad next year, which is a fair argument.
Totally a fair argument. Yeah, because with a rule change, it's basically
everything's
a reset
changing
for everybody.
The bikes, the tires, which is the
biggest thing.
It's been like a tire episode.
Yeah. So I want to talk about that for 1 second, and I want to go back to my engineering background for a second. What we're seeing now in MotoGP is it's for better or worse, we are becoming more like Formula One. It is much more a race of engineering than it is a race of pure riding talent, right? Now, if you go put Marc Marquez on a different bike, suddenly that bike's going to look really good.
But that's why we call him an alien, right?
But he's Marc Marquez.
Because he's Marc Marquez. You have to look at kind of more of the upper mid packs.
Yeah.
You know.
So, or look at kind of like the aggregate performance of the brand or the team or whatever, right?
It's always fascinating to look at, watching qualifying, you'll see Aprilia, Ducati, Aprilia, Ducati.
Yeah.
Right?
Very accurate.
And they're all clumped together. Yeah.
So, but my point here is what we're seeing here is it isn't, Aprilia guessed right and they've got the best bike because they got lucky, right? This is not a game of luck.
Occasionally luck kind of...
There may be a factor.
What was the great line in... I said it in a video and then the movie came out like a month later and Brad Pitt says, hope is not a strategy.
Yes.
Hope. And that's kind of what the luck thing is. You can't just hope for luck.
Now, KTM could come up with a clever little solution and figure out the clutch. And suddenly they've got crazy starts. Okay, cool. That's a bit of, I don't want to say it's luck, but it's like, yep, for a second you're up front and then you're going to fall back into the correct order once everyone else works it out, right? But the teams who you're seeing right now, which is Ducati and to some extent Aprilia looks very good right now, but they're in that same ballpark. They are at the front and they're consistently at the front.
Right.
And what you're seeing is not, the Italians just know how to make a MotoGP bike. No, what you're seeing is two factories who have very efficient, very well-developed, very organized engineering groups.
The term you used in where you were muted that I really latched onto that I loved was they had a good process.
Yes.
Right? And I equated it to apexes on the track.
Yeah.
That if you can't hit your apexes, then it doesn't matter. I can't gauge anything else you're doing as a rider because there's no consistency in what you're doing. Process is the same thing.
Yep.
Process gives you like a consistent approach. And if it's not working, you change your process.
Yeah. So these teams, these brands that are at the top consistently, so Aprilia and Ducati, they have worked out how to understand the information they're getting from the racers, but from the test riders, from the sensors, from the systems, from all of these things. They've worked out how to take that input that they're getting, the information that they're getting, and turn it into constructive information for the engineering team. How do you
interpret that?
Yeah.
And how do we interpret it towards
the next evolution?
Yeah, where we're trying to go. You have to have you have to have a map, right? You have to have an idea.
So the argument to this would be look at Honda and Yamaha, who have been sort of like
kings
I made
of the
joke about I'm blanking on the joke again, the Israelites.
Oh, it's my joke.
In the desert.
It's my joke. Yeah, I use this joke all the time. That you when you go to a new track day or you go to a track day and you can tell the people who have never been to the track before because they're like the Israelites wandering through the desert for 40 years trying to find their way around the track, right? They're like, is it left? Is it right? I don't know.
And so, but that's what
Honda and Yamaha looks like right now.
Kind of look like. Now Honda's getting their act together.
They're waiting for manna from heaven to fall down. I'm like, this is where we go.
but you've got So think about how much testing Yamaha's doing in the background that none of us see, right? They're in Japan, or they're in Iwata, or they're wherever.
Yeah, they're not actually on summer break right now.
Constantly.
Yeah.
And the bike is not improving. So what that tells you is that they're getting tons of test rider data and information, and they're trying to make changes to the bike, and they aren't working.
Right.
So they're not able to translate the information
They missed
that they're
their
getting.
apex, and they don't know why they missed their
Exactly,
apex.
yeah. They're not able to translate the information that they're getting from all these different inputs into constructive, like, okay, here's the problem, here's the solution, try this, yep, it worked, move on, right? Aprilia stole some talent out of Ducati. And within short order, suddenly Aprilia could do no wrong. Every new evolution was an improvement. Every new part that they threw at the riders made the bike better. And they had suddenly a really accurate correlation between input from testing and input from rider feedback and sensors and so forth into what is the problem and what is then in turn, what is the solution to the problem. So when we say, hey, Aprilia and Ducati, they're at the front of the pack right now, we assume that they will continue to be at the front of the pack.
Because they have the better processes, they have the better data. And this was like the advantage Ducati gave themselves by having 6 bikes on the grid instead of just 4.
Right.
You're getting more data coming towards you from different riders that you can parse.
Yeah.
And I'm going to assume where Ducati got a little lost in the weeds, which is where Honda got lost in the weeds, is when you have a Marc Marquez, you start to assume that anybody can solve that problem the way the Marc Marquez can. And obviously, not every rider can, like, the dude's a one-in-a-lifetime talent, right?
Yeah.
And you can't expect Pecco to ride like Marquez. But what you can do is you can build a thing that is consistently, that does behave in a way that is understandable. It's like when they switched to carbon fiber chassis. None of the riders knew how to interpret it.
Yep.
And they didn't have the time to be like, here, we need to bring up a whole new fleet of riders who grew up riding carbon fiber chassis.
And understand the feedback.
What is it telling me?
So I think you bring up a good point about Mark. I want to talk about that for a second. So when we say, hey, we assume the pecking order will just transfer into the 2027 era, it's not because we're lazy and we just think, oh, Aprilia and Ducati are good now, so why wouldn't they continue? It's because Aprilia and Ducati have proven that they have a dang good engineering process, and that process doesn't just evaporate overnight because we have new tires.
Right.
So I assume that they're going to have to get the same set of problems that Yamaha and Honda and KTM are going to get as well, and they're going to handle it better and faster.
Yep.
That's the short order of it, right? So the other point I want to talk about, which you just brought up, which is perfect, was I see comments on forums and posts and other places of, oh, Marquez ruined Honda because Marquez was so good that Honda made a bike for only Marquez could ride. And
you see that a lot.
Oh my gosh, he gets blamed for their inability to make a proper bike constantly.
I don't think that's what ruined the Honda.
Well,
I think it's a cultural issue that put Honda behind,
I would
not
agree.
Marc Marquez.
My problem with it is,
I think Marquez was like a lubricant or a catalyst to just speed up the issue.
Well,
because he was riding around a problem like, see, we have no problem because he can ride it. Why can't you be more like your sister?
And that's, I think, it. I think he was more of a Band-Aid than a source of the problem.
I agree.
I think he made an ugly, difficult bike look really good way longer than it should have. Because had that team been, because if you mentioned like the aggregate performance of the bike, those years when he was at Honda and he was fighting for the championships, and the second best Honda was back in like...
It's the same thing with KTM right now.
Yeah, exactly. You have Costa at the front.
You have a Costa at the front, and then it's like 15 bikes later, you have the 3 other KTMs right next to each other.
And so you could say, oh, well, Acosta's the problem for KTM because he can ride around all the problems that nobody else can. So
nobody seems to be saying that.
Imagine KTM being like, oh, well, if we could just get rid of Acosta, we could finally fix the bike. Like, get out of here.
Right.
So... When people complain and say like, oh, Mark is a terrible bike developer. Mark's not a bike developer. Mark's not an engineer. He's a rider.
He's a racer.
Stop thinking that the racers are developing
and this
bikes.
goes back to a thought that one of our good friends, Scott, brought to me many years ago, and I've hung on to it because I think it's right. Every good team has a good racer and a good developer.
Sure.
Right? And I think in the case of what we have right now in Ducati, Pecco's a better developer than he is a racer. Marc is a better racer, right? And if you go to Aprilia right now, I would say Martin is a better racer and Bez is a better developer.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's what a good team needs.
I think there's this idea that, oh, he rides in such a unique way at such a high level that his feedback is damaging the direction of the engineering group. And I want to say patently, I completely disagree with that.
And I'm in agreement with you. I think he's the Band-Aid.
Yeah.
He was able to ride around problems. And now, if the engineering department, I think this might be what's happening in Ducati right now is the same thing, is that, well, Marc can do it, why can't you?
Yeah.
And so what it does is it makes the engineering team less critical of what their designs they're giving the rider.
Yep.
Well, he can do it. How come you can't do it? And you're like, well, he's freaking Marc Marquez.
Yeah.
He's Valentino Rossi.
Yeah.
You know, like
he's a talent like you'll never see again.
Yeah. These guys come around once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
That can ride at this level. And I would say Casey Stoner's in that bucket. You know, these insane talents that just could solve problems that nobody else could.
But that's that point about, oh, Marc is a terrible bike developer. Marc's not a bike developer. Marc's a racer. His feedback, if you're the engineer, I want the feedback from the very fastest rider I can get, period, right? Because if I can see the data and get his input on what's working and what's not, I'm going to learn way more than the guy that's a second off the pace.
Right.
Right?
Right. Because if you have, all right, let's look at Bastianini with KTM. Who are you listening to? You listening to Acosta or Bastianini?
Yeah, obviously.
I'm listening to Acosta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
What does Acosta want? Acosta says the front end has no feel. Bastianini says the front end feels great.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna think about the guy who's toward the front. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess I don't know if that was a point I was gonna make or I'm just like venting here, but I'm so tired of watching people be like, oh, he's a terrible bike developer.
Marc gets an insane amount of heat. What's the Japanese saying? That's the tallest nail gets hit the first.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what Marquez is. He's the tallest nail. And so it's easy to be like, oh, look, that guy, you know, kind of a thing. And I've never wanted to be the biggest YouTube channel because I don't want to be the like, oh, that guy, you know, like I'm kind of happy.
Yeah.
You know, Teddy Roosevelt, one of his best quotes. I love this quote. It's easy to be a critic, you know?
Yeah.
But stand in the ring.
Yeah.
Get punched in the face.
Yeah.
You know, like the man in the ring, like what does he have to say?
The one I use all the time, and actually I feel like I use this even in my professional career. It's much easier to be an editor than an author.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone can pick apart someone else's idea or plan or whatever. It's much, much, much harder to come up with the plan in the first place.
And I really admire anybody who's like willing to, you know, like being married to my wife hates being on camera. She refuses to be on camera, right? And she's like, to me, and I'm not trying to be like self-grandizing, but she's like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it, kind of a thing. How do you put yourself out there all the time? And it's always given me a lot of respect for people who are willing to put themselves out there, who are willing to be vulnerable and up in front of somebody else, you know, because man, sometimes the world can be cruel.
Well, and
I think our audience is better than most. I think our audience is not the ones who are cruel to the people. There's one thing if you're like blatantly doing like something really idiotic.
Sure.
But like to make a mistake, give someone a litll bit of grace, you know?
Well, and thankfully they do, because this is obviously utterly unscripted.
Right.
And we say things off the cuff and we misspeak, and that's just a normal...
Oh my gosh, don't ask us to say the names of all the writers correctly. No, and I think our audience is fantastic. Like I love the comments like, no, you say it like this, and they give us like little phonetic things, and you're like, thank you.
I will practice.
I'm like so grateful. Like, thank you. And they're not jerky about it. It's like, you're such a, you know, like they don't ever do that. They're like, here's how you say it. And like, oh, thanks. Yeah. And like, I think the world, if we all contribute what our expertise is, if like we all were in a safe place where we could contribute our knowledge to the greater, that's how things move forward.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the whole Star Trek universe that I always loved, you know, as a kid watching Star Trek. And I was like, yeah, spaceships and explosions are great fun. But I love this whole, everybody contributed to their strength. And that's how we ended up like in a utopia.
You're not going to give us a Star Trek quote. You're just going to
I can't come up with one easy, like
come on,
a Jean-Luc Picard quote. But I will say, when I'm playing video games, like video games always give you this like really idiotic, sometimes like quandary. You have to make this choice, this big morality choice. Like the Bethesda games, like Fallout, are always good at this. I'm always like, what would Jean-Luc Picard do? And I've done that with like Fallout games, and it breaks the game. Because the game doesn't know how to do, because the game wants you to pick a very strong side.
Oh, okay.
And Jean-Luc Picard was like, well, every culture has its value, and every person has their value, and they're like, you just can't say that, you know, the Borg and the Bajorn, you know, they're different and they both have value and blah blah blah.
Dave, it's 2026. Pick a side.
Pick a side.
Tribalism.
What team is yours? It's all tribalism.
Yeah.
I know. All motorcycles deserve love.
Cool. Well, I think that was a fun conversation.
All right. Yeah. Did you guys have fun? Let us know what you think. What do you want us to talk about? We'll be back next week.
I want to know how you would fix World Superbike.
Yes.
What did we totally butcher on tires?
We did have a plan to talk about. We were going to have a big discussion. We were going to pick one motorcycle brand and be like, what would we do to fix X motorcycle brand? And just throw a brand out at random. So maybe you guys in the comments throw out a brand that you want to know, how would we fix X brand?
Yeah.
And no brand is perfect. Every brand deserves a little bit of constructive criticism.
So how would we improve?
Improve.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I actually think that might be a fun little series that we do, because I mean, we could go from A to Z through brands and be like, they really ought to think about this or fix this. So
well,
anyway,
and
I
work with a lot of these brands too, right? So like I have some inside information sometimes, different perspectives. Because a lot of people will come out and be like, well, why don't they just? And I'm like, well, here's why.
Yeah.
You know, like,
in fact, here's why they can't do that.
And this is what they told me.
So I think that might be a fun topic to do. So, all right, guys. Thanks. Have a good week. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a good week and stay cool. Hydrate.
Yeah. Good luck.
All right. Cheers.
Bye.